What's up, guys? Welcome in to another edition of SSPN Postgame. My name's Jude McLaren. Usually my partner in crime, Ethan Quintero, is here with me, but he was actually at the Hawks game tonight, so we won't have him on the show, but we're going to do a little bit of a Q&A here. We'll see how many people get in here, but before we get into any of that, we'll just jump straight into our normal postgame. It'll be a little bit different because it's just me flying solo this time, but a lot of you guys might have also checked out Ethan's video that he did one time where I was out and he did a solo recap as well. So I see a little bit of you guys are coming in here. We appreciate you guys. Hope you're having a good night. I know another Spurs L, but at the end of the day, I think we were all expecting it. So let's jump straight into this game. So we'll start off with our offensive player of the game, or our offensive MVP is usually what we roll with, and that's going to be Bryn Forbes tonight. DeJounte had 22, but if we just go straight off efficiency, not only did Bryn score the most amount in the game tonight, but he was also 9 for 12. I think this is by far Bryn's best game so far this season. Unfortunately, he's not going to be consistently hitting step-back mid-range jumpers and step-back threes because he's been doing that this entire season, and it hasn't, the shots haven't fallen until tonight. So it seems like this was more of an anomaly than what's going to be the normal thing here for the Spurs. So good dub for Bryn tonight. W for him, still L for the team. So a good night from him. So we'll have to see what happens with that moving forward. Hopefully it can be consistent because we need more three-point shooting tonight. I don't know how many threes he hit. I'm going to go ahead and check that right now. Went 3 for 5, but 9 for 12 overall. Hit some floaters as well. We know Bryn has some skills, but once again, it's just about being consistent, and this was more of an anomaly than the norm. So, offensive MVP for Bryn tonight, but probably not going to continue, unfortunately. Okay, talking about the defensive MVP, I'm going to roll with Derek White. Had 2 blocks, 2 steals, but more importantly, I felt like he had way more steals watching this game. I don't think that necessarily he got the credit for them, which might have been right on the stat sheet and the stat keepers. I guess the way that they called steals, I'm not sure exactly on the details of that. But point is, he was in there tonight. He was on the floor a bunch, I felt like, getting his hand in there, disrupting things. And that was mainly for the first half because, as you guys saw, if you watched the second half of this game, the Hawks just kind of ran away with it. But in that first half, I felt like he was doing really well defensively, making sure to clog up lanes. I felt like he just caused a lot of turnovers tonight for the Hawks in that first half. But at the same time, it's like, yeah, I'm giving Derek this defensive MVP, but he is still just not finding his place in this offense. 1 for 6 from 3, 3 for 12 from the field, only 7 points, 2 turnovers as well. We just did a Spurs roundtable on TSR Sports with Clan the Spurs Fan. Ethan was there last night. Y'all can go check that out if you want to over on his channel. And one of the things we were talking about with Derek is, and this is a video that Ethan and I have made as well, is moving him to the bench and bringing up Devin Vassell to kind of space the floor and be more of that off-ball shooter instead of forcing Derek into that role and letting him facilitate more, which is where he's been successful throughout his entire career. As we're seeing, continuing to force him into this, this 2-guard role, it's just not going to work. The times that I felt like, once again, where he did have success tonight was whenever he was able to kind of facilitate, get inside, get a little floater. That's how he got his looks. But still, at the same time, even when he gets those looks, they're not falling. So it's just a thing that we're going to have to continue to watch with Derek. And this is something that me and Ethan have talked about before. And it's just like, if this performance continues, as much as we love Derek and as much as he's doing on the defensive end, he's just going to be somebody who might end up getting traded. Million Gnu, appreciate you being in here, my man. I'm glad that you loved the round table. Definitely, y'all go check that out on TSR Sports with Clan the Spurs Fan, myself, and Ethan. It was a really fun conversation. We talked about basically everybody on the roster who's gotten significant minutes. It's about 2 hours. We broke it all down. And if y'all have questions during the stream, like I put it in the title, this is a Q&A based one because it's just me. So please throw some stuff in the chat, questions about this team, all this stuff. There you go, Million. Has White reached his ceiling? So it's seeming more and more like that is the case. This was just another example of it. He's getting inside, but that's really, they're not dropping. The floaters aren't consistently dropping. And it's like, those are, I feel like, if he was making those would help him get in rhythm for the rest of the game, and he's just not consistently making those. I mean, the jump that I thought he was going to have, I thought he was going to be a consistent shooter. I really did. I thought it was going to be at least 33%, 35% at the worst. I obviously overestimated that. He is just not comfortable in this offense, and I feel like, maybe he could go somewhere else and get a little bit more comfortable, and maybe his ceiling's raised there. But I feel like on the Spurs, as of right now, from what we've seen so far, definitely. And Laura Latin, appreciate you for being in here. Thank you for listening to that roundtable. I'm glad you enjoyed it. But let's get back into the post game as well, talking about Derek White. So no unsung hero tonight. I just really couldn't find anybody. Usually it's Devin Vassell or Trey Jones, but Trey had a little bit of a rough night tonight with turnovers. He ran about one offensive set where it looked good, but then there were a lot of times where he would just try to ISO, or not even really ISO. He just tried to drive past his man, go to the basket, and he's just didn't make anything tonight. I want to see what his total shots were. Yeah, 0 for 2 on the night, and those were literally just 2 drives to the rim that were contested, and they didn't look good. I thought he took more shots than that, but I guess not. So unfortunately there for Trey Jones, one of the things that Clan brought up on that roundtable that we did was how he wasn't as sold on him as me and Ethan are. And it was just kind of ironic that this first night I watched and it's like, ooh, this was some struggles from Trey Jones. And I think that there were some things that maybe I didn't see that I was just like, oh, he's the next guy on the bench that can replace somebody else who's struggling. So I just feel like he's the best player ever, right? It's like the backup quarterback thing. The most popular guy on the team is the backup quarterback, when the quarterback's struggling. So same things when Bryn Forbes was struggling, wanted to bring up Trey Jones. Lo and behold, tonight, Trey Jones struggles. Bryn Forbes has an amazing night, like my man Illuminati Gaming says. Lance Leong, appreciate you being in here. M Easy, I see you down there as well too. Missed the game, shocked at the free throw disparity. Yeah, that is another thing that we're gonna get into, and we might as well just jump into it right now. And that is some of the things that we're struggling with right now. And the first thing that I can talk about is free throws. It's something that you don't really think about too much because it's not like, while yes, it's a basketball play, it's not a play. Everything stops, you just go to the line and you shoot. So it feels kind of insignificant and separated from the game when you're watching, at least from my perspective. And it's just frustrating because it really does make a difference. They're free points. And when you look at the end of the game, and let's go ahead and check the team stats for that right now, 8 for 10 from the Spurs. So not a bad night shooting, but 24 attempts for the Hawks. They were just able to draw more fouls. And you got to think, not only did the Hawks outshoot us tonight, but they outshot us on the free throw line too. And the thing is these guys this team is just shooters. Trae Young, Kevin Huerter, even Cam Reddish can shoot. I mean, the list goes on and on. Bogdanovich, my man Gallinari, he made some shots tonight. Lou Williams, even DeLon Wright was 0 for 1, but that's a guy who can also hit a 3. And you're letting these pure shooters go to the line like this. It's you can't expect anything else but for them to shoot 96% or whatever it was. Yeah, it's a tough time here in Spurs Nation when you have people like Keldon Johnson and Jakob Poeltl, and that's not to say that they're terrible players, but we know that right now they are struggling free throw shooters, and it's just something that's adding on top of the badness of what's going on right now with the Spurs. But let's jump into something else. Let's jump in to also rotations. That's something that we're also continuing to see the Spurs struggle with, and they need to get better at. It's game after game you'd expect for these things to change, but I think there's just an experience and a talent gap in most teams that they're playing, and those things combined are just allowing the same mistakes to continue. The big thing that I think was a glaring weakness that doesn't always happen in other games, only 5 transition points for the Spurs tonight. That's really where they're able to get things going with this young team, when they're able to beat them with their speed, get easy layups from steals, whether that's started off by Devin or DeJounte Murray. We've seen that throughout the year. That's where I think Keldon shines as well. It really feels like when we're playing in transition, that's when the Spurs, are able to have success. And when you only have 5 transition points, It's not a surprise that you got blown out by the Hawks, but also this Hawks team is better than the Spurs. They're more experienced. They went to the Eastern Conference Finals last year. So, I mean, I was expecting a blowout. I don't know about you guys, but we'll get in here to the comments. Million again. Our free throw shooting this year has been horrible. I think TSR brought it up. Yes, we are shooting like 66%, I think is what he said, 64%, around there in the starting lineup. You got to do better than that. But going back to just the transition thing, once again, that's the Spurs bread and butter. I mean, this is a young team. When you're able to take advantage, of that youth, that's where they're going to have the most success, and didn't see a lot of it tonight. Okay, but the main thing that I think we all want to talk about here is Jock Landale. We got to see him. He's back. He's back and healthy. I know it was only garbage time, and that's the same thing. We've only seen him in garbage time, so you can only take so much of it. But there was a little stretch where he was going up against Clint Capella, and he was looking pretty good. It wasn't anything crazy, but it's like, okay, this dude can match up size-wise. I felt like his defensive rotations were honestly better than any big that we have. And it was a very small sample size, but I really thought that. I thought that he moves a lot better. And some of that is because he is a little bit slimmer, even though he's 250 and he's 6'11". At the same time, he's got a thinner body than, say, a Eubanks or a Thaddeus Young, right? So you do give up a little bit about that, and sometimes he can get bullied in the post, but still, at this point, with the way that the rotations are struggling, especially with Eubanks and with Thad Young, and even with Jakob to an extent, even though Jakob's doing a really good job defensively, and we saw when he was gone, how much he means to us, the way that Jock was able to move, I just felt like there were less times where the rotation or the switch happened and then Clint Capella or whoever was playing center was just wide open. There were times where Jock would, even if there was a little bit of a mishap there, he would run over and he would get there just in time. So good stuff from Jock Landale. Missed his three. But once again, only going off these garbage time minutes. But from what I have seen from Jock Landale in this second appearance, I'm on the train. I want to see him play more. We're 4-13 at this point. Why does it matter? And that's the thing too, M-Easy, where you mean to tell me Primo can't get minutes on this team? Give me a break. It's really tough. And we were having this conversation on the roundtable last night, and I was like, oh, well, maybe you keep him till the All-Star break. We don't want to ruin Primo. We don't want to bring him in if he's not NBA ready, hasn't gone through the whole Spurs system. But they also brought up a great point in Clan and TSR, and that if they're gonna be that guy, if Josh Primo is going to be an NBA stud, NBA star, then he's going to be able to play and come in and just play. That's how all of those guys have been, other than and it's weird because it is within the Spurs. You can say other than Kawhi Leonard, who was kind of brought up in a very simple, or not simple path, but a very structured path, right? Where he increasingly progressed each year, and it wasn't like he was a star at the gate. But at the same time, if Primo's going to be that guy, you got to play him now. So I understand where you're coming from there, M-Easy, especially when you've got some guys at guard who are struggling. I still like Primo playing in the G League. I like the idea of it, but I feel like I'm less opposed to Primo just because it's look, if he's made of it, he's gonna have success. Even if, it's a struggling team. There were so many young guys who were on struggling teams for forever and still had success. Like De'Aaron Fox, he's still kind of in that situation. Even Colin Sexton, right? He's not a crazy NBA player, but before Darius Garland was drafted, he was going crazy in that rookie year for the Cavaliers, and we know he's a pure scorer. So whatever Primo is going to be, regardless of the situation, he's going to make those plays if he gets minutes in the NBA, and if we give him those minutes and he doesn't, then you can say, oh, he's 18, still has time to develop, which is true, but it's I liked that argument that they made, and it was something that I hadn't thought of, and I feel like, you do really learn a lot about, what you see out of young guys, even if you throw them in a situation where there's a lot of pressure. But yeah, let's talk about Devin Vassell. I see y'all are talking about that. That's probably the biggest takeaway, honestly, from this game, the most major takeaway, because we know where the Spurs are at. We know they're a lottery team. It's that Devin Vassell got hurt. And it was like on an effort play too, guys. It made me so mad. So, Illuminati, you asked what happened to Vassell after Laura brought it up. So he's going up for a rebound, and really it should have been an over-the-back foul on him, but he goes up for this rebound over a guy and gets it. So it was a great effort play, and they didn't call a foul, but when he lands kind of like on top of him, his leg lands really awkwardly. And so I think it was a lower, like, it was like a hamstring / knee area strain, which is like, it's the last thing you wanted. And he was having a rough game tonight, but like the thing I love about Devin, and this is like, look, shooters are going to have off nights, right? But he kept shooting for the most part until that injury and was playing hard. So I appreciated that. And Laura brings up a great point. It wasn't that hard. It seems like this could be like a Doug McDermott thing where he's out maybe a couple games, which sucks for the Spurs considering that he's like one of their few spark plugs right now. But it definitely could have been a lot worse. So it's like, don't be too alarmed, but also it really sucks because he could be out like 3 to 4 games, and that's just going to make watching these games even more miserable. Like, it was a 20-point blowout tonight. Imagine what it might be, you know, with Vassell's defense not in there, even on a night where he wasn't shooting well. All right, my man M-Easy, just getting straight Q&A in here, guys, because that was really, I've kind of gone over everything that we have in our post game. So I understand that you want to nurture Primo, but perimeter guys ahead of him on the depth chart are really, yes, exactly. That, and it's like, you know, I know that like Lonnie has earned his chops, you know, and everything, and the Spurs have this culture which we all love, and it's like you want to treat people right, you don't want to disrespect them, especially after they invest in your organization. But it's like, man, like Primo looks a lot better than Lonnie right now, man. Like Lonnie hit that 1-3, or I think he might have hit 2 tonight. Let me go ahead and check myself before I wreck myself. Nope, 1 for 4 for Lonnie, 2 for 7 overall, 5 points. Had 5 assists and 4 boards, I guess, but it's like this is not what we were expecting out of Lonnie. You know, he was a first-round draft pick and really felt like a steal at 18, and it's just unfortunate. It's just unfortunate. So Spurs 21209. Is it coach or lack of talent on this team? I agree with my man Illuminati Gaming down here. It's definitely lack of talent. You know, we've seen what Pop can do with championship level players, and it's a dynasty. Obviously, it's easy when you have 3 Hall of Famers, but at the same time, this is very obviously a lack of talent. There's maybe some things, like maybe we'd like to see Jock Landale play a little bit more. But at the end of the day, like that, none of the changes that we would make on the roster, I think, would really change the result of this team, other than maybe getting Zach Collins back, depending on how he plays. If everything just runs perfect with Zach Collins, then maybe that could make this team, you know, a little bit closer to the play-in. But I don't think any of this, like, none of this is a championship contender. You know, even if Zach Collins is playing tonight, like, you're still losing by basically 20 points. So I don't know if like that's the difference, you know, whenever he plays. And I just don't think that that's going to end up, even if he did have like a monster game, like you just don't know if that's going to be the difference with the way that everybody else plays. And we don't know how everybody else will play around him. Maybe his spacing helps out a lot, but still, I think you guys get the gist. It's not Pop's fault. I don't think that wouldn't make the difference of beating a team like Trae Young, John Collins, Clint Capella, you know, all these guys that, you know, are frankly more athletic and better shooters. And then on top of that, they have more experience and they're still young. So it's like they just check all the boxes of how to beat the Spurs. Unfortunate. Get TJ some help. Yes, Tiara. All right, Laura, let's check out your question. Do you think some of the players may start to get sour to the point of wanting to leave if certain players just don't improve? That is an interesting question, and I think it's a good one because I was even watching, and I mentioned this on one episode. I don't know if it was on here or if it was on TSR or Spurs Tube TV, but there's times where you can notice, like now, I wonder if it's going to get to the guys. Like, it hasn't fully, but you can tell, like, when they're getting blown out, like, even though they come back a little bit, in some instances, like tonight, they let it get away from in the third quarter. I was like, all right, here's the blowout. And then they got it to like almost a 10-point game, like with about like 7 or 8 minutes left. And it was like, oh, shoot. And then things go downhill again. And it seems like they're not taking it too hard. Maybe some will want to leave. but I just can't really. That's a great question. Maybe it happens, but I don't know the answer to that. But I think it's definitely. I think it's going to be very interesting to watch how these young guys handle and take basically these beatings that they're taking. It seems like they're taking it pretty well, but you're still seeing some things to where you can see the frustration bleeding out a little bit. And hopefully they can just stay together and ride through this thing, because it's going to be very interesting. I know that doesn't really answer your question, but I really, I don't have the intel. I got to be inside the team to know if like some of these guys would want to leave. It seems like they like each other a lot, even though they're struggling. So hopefully that's not the case, but you never know if you're not inside the locker room. So I think it's just going to be something that's going to be very interesting to watch. So yeah, let's see. Here's what Million has to say about Collins. So Zach will give us some size in the front court and take care of the pressure of KJ. Take some pressure off KJ, but that's about it. I don't think yeah. I agree with you. Like, maybe he hits a couple more threes, but as we've been seeing this year, like, even though that would help us, like, a couple more threes is not the difference. There's a whole other list of problems that also exist with the Spurs team. Yeah, this is a great point, Haiti, because I was watching even tonight, and he missed a layup, I believe, or maybe he passed it off to Jakob. I don't know what it was, but Jakob went up and got and it was like a great second chance opportunity, and Jakob just missed a wide open pop shot, and DJ was just like this. He just like threw his arms up like, man. And it's because, like, he's the one who's been around the longest. Even though he's young, he's, like, younger than Derek. He's been in the system. He's the longest tenured Spur. He's the one who knows what to do. He came in around Kawhi and LaMarcus Aldridge, and, like, he's seen that championship mentality. He was on that 2017 team. Like, Kawhi was with us in the Zaza, or not Kawhi, excuse me. DeJounte was with us in the Zaza years. Like, he's really seen everything. And so I think that's why he looks upset or annoyed, because he's seen the standard. You know what I mean? So, but I think Illuminati, you bring up a great point here. And here's a human moment, right? Humans learn from adversity, and this is going to be a great learning year. And I think that's the thing that me and Ethan, even coming into this year, like, we were so hyped and we had so much hope for these young guys. We're like, oh, it's going to be great. They're going to be unleashed. They're freed. We're going to play fast, modern NBA basketball. Everything's going to be great. They got to learn, like you said. Even Michael Jordan went through losing seasons. So these guys are going to learn. It's a learning year. It's a learning process. And they're going to be fine. It's a rebuild year, like my man Renee says. So let me see what Laura has to say. Sometimes I feel that the idea of the Spurs way may start to get old, even for the most loyal players. Losing games can take its toll. It definitely can, but if these guys keep perspective and realize, hey, let's just go through the season, learn some lessons, get a Chet Holmgren, Apollo Banchero, maybe. There's a lot, a Jalen Duren, even a Jabari Smith. There's a lot of really talented front court players in this draft, and the Spurs might have the highest draft pick they've had in a long time. So if we could get another elite franchise-changing front court player, remember the last time that the Spurs were able to draft a high one of those? It was Tim Duncan. But all of that being said, we hope, because the draft lottery can mess us up, man. It can screw you. So we'll have to see. Thank you guys for being in here tonight. I know this was a little bit of a different live without Ethan being in here, and the L's are continuing to pile on, but we'll have Ethan back in here soon. And hopefully Huevos Banchero. Yes, we need our man Paulo. I'm down with Chet Holmgren too. Any of those big guys, we need a big post in the Spurs that can help us out. We'd love to see it, whether it's the athleticism of Paolo or the shooting and skill of Chet. It's gonna be very interesting. Yoga says we're gonna draft a yard. Oh my gosh, yeah. Honestly, I wouldn't even be surprised. But anyways, we'll be back soon. Me and Ethan will on SSPN. I'm actually gonna be at the game on Friday, and I'm gonna make a vlog. I'm gonna go and I'm gonna be like about 2 to 3 minutes, just some highlights of the game. But y'all definitely be on the lookout for that. We'll try to get some new content, some SSPN vlogs out of some games. Me and Ethan got to go one together and then make like one of us. It'll just be me and a group of friends this Friday. But anyways, go Spurs, go y'all. I appreciate you guys being in here For sure. Y'all are some real ones, and I'll catch you guys in the next episode. Before that, don't forget to like and subscribe if you haven't already. And also, you can follow me and Ethan on Twitter. It's just our names right down here below if you want to stay updated on everything else. So thank you guys so much for being in here. I'll catch you guys in the next one, and go Spurs go.